So what does it really mean to be apolitical?
This is a world premiere. This is a word.
So there are a lot of people who debate how politics is to be defined. I think people would agree it has to do with governance. I think people would agree that it has to do with the organization and the application of power in a society. But is it possible to be apolitical? In a healthy society, we may be able to draw a line between politics and our personal lives. In a healthy society, we might trust that most needs would be met either by individuals for themselves or on a community level with families and neighbors and local groups like churches and clubs and stuff like that. Now, this doesn't mean that there's not some room for the state to provide some public goods like, roads and schools and protecting the public and maybe providing for individuals who are vulnerable and might not be able to provide for themselves. And perhaps dealing with people who might be a threat to society. We live in a society, at least the United States and perhaps Western society in general, where the state has been infused into our most personal lives, influencing which religions are acceptable, what races are preferred, what gender is dominant, what sex is supposed to look like, and perhaps in another world where the state was not already so invasive, we might just be able to live together in harmony, or at least live separately in tolerance. That, unfortunately, is not the case. Now, regardless of whether we're talking about conservatives or liberals, the state plays a huge part in our personal lives. And I'm not sure anyone believes this is a good thing. And much of that influence seems to be in the form of dispensing morality. Be it the religious right who are anti-Muslim, anti-gay, anti-choice, or the snowflake left that want to silence all voices that might offend their identity. Amitai Etzioni is an Israeli-American sociologist. He's also the founder of the communitarian movement. His writings emphasize the importance of all societies to have a carefully crafted balance between rights and responsibilities, between autonomy and order. He says, the more the state takes over functions that were once discharged by communities, voluntary associations, and families, the weaker the society will become. In contrast, the more the state generates opportunities for social actors to initiate and sustain their own social action, the more viable society becomes. In the US, the state is everywhere. In every sporting event, we're asked to stand for the national anthem. At this year's Super Bowl, the halftime show was called by the media apolitical. Lady Gaga singing "This Land Is Your Land" standing in front of an American flag made out of drones. Some might contest whose land it is. The flag is by default political, and drones are traditionally a part of deadly military force. During my research into the Gamergate movement, it came up that there were a lot of gamers who considered themselves apolitical, who were against the infusing of this liberal, feminist, cultural, Marxist agenda, which is totally fair. No one should have to be subjected to anyone's political agenda against their will. The problem is that what these gamers see as politically neutral may not be so apolitical. We live in a society where we're constantly being bombarded with the dominant political ideology. So when it shows up in our games, our movies, our sports, we just may not even notice it. So when these games, these movies, fashion, any of these things feel neutral, it may be just because they don't challenge the status quo. And to some, that might even be comforting. In fact, someone who goes through life saying, I'm apolitical, might really just be saying, well, I think things are fine the way they are, which is also a vote for the status quo. So what I'm saying is, if you really want to be apolitical and you don't want to see politics being infused into your private life against your will, maybe it's time to stand up and make sure that politics isn't being inserted into anyone else's life either. What do you think? Is it possible to be apolitical? Do you see the popular culture, movies, games, and other forms of entertainment in your life as politically neutral? Leave a comment, let me know. That's it for this video. Like it if you like it, share, comment, subscribe. This is Reg signing off. Love yourself. Peace.
And I love myself.